Behind the Shades.
No manual out there how to be a parent, especially being a father. And as you talked about earlier, there's so many stigmas. It's you got the absent father. You have the father that's there, but that's not there, and then you have the father that's there that also struggles with his own personal demons. So for me, one of the lessons that I learned at being a father is learn from the situations that are around you. You know what I'm saying? You got to let your ego go as a dad. And sometimes, you can't be one way or another. It's a life balancing act, especially with your kids. Being able to, I had to learn how to listen to understand my kids because sometimes, as parents, we feel as though like we know everything. And one thing I tell my kids, even my youngest boy, I said, look, I'm not no better than you. I've made many mistakes, but I've lived longer than you have to teach you the mistakes that I've made so you won't make them. So I had to go through that process, which was, it had its ups and its downs, but eventually it smoothed right out.
Was that a difficult journey for you to say that, hey, I may not know everything, but I have the experience, and now you're going from maybe telling it to more of a listening type of role?
Due to the type of work that I do presently, it made it really, really easy because I was, going to work every day and doing the work that you do. What happens is that you see yourself through the clients that you service, and you begin to hear and you begin to see some things, and it really humbles you. So in the beginning, it was very tough. That process was very, very tough. But as time went on and the years went on, and I became better as a person, not so much as a father, just as a person, fatherhood, got much, much easier. Those conversations got easier.
You mentioned earlier on that 80% of the people that are in the population of where you work with, they're men, and
Yes.
75% of that are fathers. That sounds like a large amount. And I know sometimes we seem to forget that the resources allocated to men and to women are different. The
Yes.
resources allocated to mothers and fathers are different. And how are some of the ways that maybe as a society that we can make sure that we're always showing up for the fathers out there who need continuous help?
First of all, we got to get to a place where we can't continue to look down on our suffering addicts. Because addiction is just not, smoking marijuana and all those other things. You have a high level of addicts that are addicted to pain medications. You understand what I'm saying? So it's like, the addiction is very, very widespread. And we have to embrace the disease again because it's right in our face, it's right in our back doors, and it's something that we can't continue to kind of look away and think that it's going to go away. We have to continue to provide federal money and viable resources, not just residential treatment, outpatient services, mentoring services. We have to provide job opportunities, vocational educational opportunities, and they have to be affordable because one of the stigmas about recovery is that many of our men, they come in, they have no viable skills at all. So getting them into a place where, we can get them back into vocational training schools and teaching them how to read and write and teaching them how to communicate properly. Those are essential tools that we all need in order to be successful citizens in society.
Does that mean that sometimes those who aren't a part of the addiction community is to a degree not as understanding and as compassionate as maybe those who are in the addiction community would need them to be?
Well, sometimes it goes both ways. You have a certain percentage of individuals that's not in that community, they aren't compassionate because they don't look at the world the same way we look at the world. And then you have people that's in that community that understands that addiction, but they're all, the stigma is, when you're going to get it right, when you're going to get your life together, why you keep doing what you're doing. So it's a mixed bag, as far as that question is concerned, because the stigma is most definitely there. It's most definitely there, and it's not going to go nowhere. And you have to also remember, there's a certain percentage of individuals that hide their disease and they continue to get up and go to work and be productive and still take care of their personal responsibilities, but that don't mean they still don't suffer from the disease of addiction.
I believe that's an amazing point, Isaac, that you shared, because when I knew very little of addiction outside of what you read and that it's bad, right? And you feel bad for what people are going through. But then when someone starts to recover, I knew nothing about that until I started to speak to people who were recovering. And they would tell me, they would say, Train, you know what? What I always wanted was just someone to understand that it's not an easy journey. They don't have to throw money at me. They don't have to throw me like what they call, quote unquote, a pity party. I just want them to look at me like a regular person instead of someone that should be discarded. When you're working with your clients and at your job, do you get that vibe where some people feel like they're less than in comparison to others?
Yeah, it's a very lonely place, man, because to be honest with you, a lot of our, men in the community, we have a lot of them, it's not their first go round. Many of them been in 10, 12, 15, 20, 25, 30 different rehab facilities. And they've been doing this for years, and the struggle to get it right. However, but the stigma of, my family just want me to get it right, and everybody that they associated with are like them. So, it's a comfort and it's a discomfort because it's like, what I'm gonna do when I get clean. It's like divorcing your best friend, or you know what I'm saying, and trying to find a new friend and have no idea of which way you want to go.
Who can help provide that type of guidance that they would need to direct them, especially for the fathers who are recovering, because fathers play such an integral part of the child raising in the family.
Look, we have fathers groups, they have NAAA groups, they have multiple social groups, all over the country. Um, it's a variety of different outlets that individuals that can go to. Even social media is really, they have rooms now in social medias just for fathers. You know what I'm saying? For struggling fathers. They have discords for fathers that are struggling just being a father, not just with addiction. So um with social media, it has opened up the doors and opened up endless possibilities for fathers to really reach out and get the necessary help that they need. And the most important thing about that is that they want to have the help. You got to want it. Everybody don't want it. And that's unfortunately part of disease. Some people are comfortable in that misery and in that pain, and then you have a large population of that. They suffer in the disease of addiction, trying to get it right every day.
When the fathers are recovering and they're on their journey back to being a part of the family that they spent some time away from, how is that transition back into the family units and them being a part of their kid's life again, or their wife or their girlfriend? Like, how is that journey for them?
Sometimes that journey is difficult because sometimes their family don't want them back in their life. They've burnt so many bridges. You know what I'm saying? They made so many false promises and false hopes to their family, and they've been doing it for so long. Some of them don't have family to go to. Some of them, their family learn to live and love them from a distance. It's a very, very difficult process because, You know, they might get 6 months, 8 months clean, then they go back out. They might get a year clean. An event may happen. You know, something may come up. Something may happen. They go out and they go out and use. And every time you go out, it becomes much and much more difficult to come back. So that journey of getting back with their families, building relationship with their kids, their ex-wives, a lot of them lose families. I mean, when I tell you they lose everything, they lose their families, their wives, their kids, their homes. Like it's a devastating loss when you're dealing with the disease of addiction.